Howdy y'all, Mojang Lex Lives. I think it's time we play a little Minecraft. What are you doing there, dude? All dressed up, no one to fight? Come on. Nope, you're dead. Sounds like you have some buddies, though. Oh yeah, look at them pouring off the house. Ooh, where else are you? I've been working on the house a little bit today while I've been eating my lunch and watching some TV. Thought I'd take a few minutes here to watch an episode of How to Get Away with Murder. It's not bad. It's not. I don't know. It doesn't have the focus, I guess, that I would like to it. It's a little too stupid creeper. I wish it was a little more focused on like their cases and a little less focused on their drama. Weird. I wish I could remember what color these walls actually were. At one point they were paneled, but I don't remember what they looked like when they finished. Had a creeper come through and blow up on me, as you can see. Knocked a few holes in things. I don't appreciate that. Knocked a few holes in the stairway here. Took out my little balcony. You can see it's gone. But I've been trying to figure out how I wanted to... Oh, you know what? That doesn't go there. Trying to figure out how I wanted to do my ceiling and stuff through here. And so I think the quartz stairs will work really good. So that's what I've got so far. And I started working on this over here. Once again, unfortunately, we don't have half blocks of cyan wool or anything like that, so I'm having to just use full blocks. The trim in this room was not quite this color of blue, but I figured this was close enough. This room here actually was remodeled while it was my bedroom as a youngin'. I don't know how old I was. I want to say I must have been in my early teens when this was my bedroom. And then my late teens I would have moved from this room to this room. Maybe? I can't remember. But I shared this room with my brother when I was younger. Our beds were on opposite sides of the room. And I remember one of the things I used to do as a kid was tape songs off the radio with a cassette player. We had foster kids, and one of the foster kids had bought a radio, and then I don't remember. I think he left and didn't really come back for his stuff, and so it was in storage for several years, and he never came back to get it. And so eventually they were going to throw it out. So I claimed the radio, and the radio had dual cassette deck, and I remember taping songs on it. I particularly remember listening to the top 40 for the year and being angry because the top song was not the one I wanted, but I don't remember what the songs were. I actually had those cassette tapes until we moved out of this house, and I mean, I hadn't listened to them, but I'm a bit of a pack rat, so I don't really throw my stuff away. You never know when you want to break out an old cassette tape and listen to it, right? I mean, I don't have that much stuff. I'm not like hoarding stuff necessarily. I like to put things in boxes and then store them. And so I wind up storing like old cassette tapes that I don't listen to for years. Here's a great example of that. I'm a huge Godzilla fan. Love those movies, all of them. There's like 30 of them now. 30 Godzilla movies now. And so I had found a website that sold the original versions of the Godzilla movies because I had discovered after, I must have been in college when that happened. I'm going to say I was in college or late high school, maybe. I discovered that the American versions that I had been watching weren't the original versions and that changes had been made to a lot of the movies. And so I wanted to see the original versions, and so I had searched the internet and I found a website that actually, I'll get some wheat here and breed up these sheep so I can get some more wool. I'm also going to increase the size of that thing, I think. And so I found this website that sold Godzilla movies in their original format. And so I ordered a lot of the Godzilla movies on VHS because DVD wasn't even out when I started ordering these Godzilla movies. So I must have still been in high school. And or DVD was out maybe, but I didn't have a DVD player, and DVDs were really expensive still. So it was like right as DVD was coming out. And so I ordered all these Godzilla movies on VHS, and the company didn't upgrade to DVD for a long time, and so I just ordered everything on VHS. And so then when they shifted to having, I'll bet I was in high school when I was doing that, because when I got to college, then I reordered them on DVD from the same company. And but after I got all the Godzilla movies that were available on DVD, I kept those VHS movies for years, just in the closet, in a box. I mean, you have to figure there were like 24 or 5 movies at the time, and each one of them had its own little case, and so it was not a little box that these things were in. They were in a huge box because there's so many of them, and so it just sat in my closet. Big box of Godzilla movies. I also like to keep the cases that games come in for some reason. I don't know why. I just do. And so I I had a box full of those as well. You know what? Let's empty out some of this wool so we can pick up these fences. I need the fences. But yeah, so I can be a bit of a pack rat, I guess. And So it's not like they were just, loose or something. They were all in their boxes. Okay. Now the next thing I gotta do here is grab this gate, and get it in place. No, no, no. Bad sheeps. Whoops. Get back. Get back. Sheep stay in the pen. That's where sheep go. I just want to give you guys a little bit more room so you can eat faster and get me wool faster. Oh, dang it. There we go. Okay, now, whoop, I meant to throw out the seeds, not my lapis. That's crazy. Where's that wheat? Alright. White sheep and white sheep. And white sheep and white sheep. What if I do red and blue sheep? Blue sheep, red sheep. What kind of baby lamb do you make? Where's your baby? Oh, you made a little red sheep. Alright. And then let me go ahead and grab some more wool, because we're going to need it for that upstairs room. I've decided to do it in wool. And so that's what I've been using. That's what I was going to do. Why don't you go ahead and hold that stuff. Because I tried the diorite, but I didn't like the way it looked because the walls were white, and I just can't mine that much quartz. Just can't do it. It's just not going to happen. I don't have time, and so I'm just going to go ahead and use white wool for the walls and call it good. Oh, I should have brought some oak in here. Oh, I've got some oak slabs. Maybe I can just fill it in with that. There we go. I still need some dark wood in here for this, though. Spruce wood, though. I think I can use spruce wood. I think the basement got damaged, too. Let me go fix that, too. Now, when I was a kid, the walls upstairs, I guess I was in there when I was a kid, too, at one point. No, I remember I was a teenager, I guess, when it got tore down, because that was when my friends could drive. So what we had was the walls were, boy, I don't know what color the walls were when I was a kid. Man, that was forever ago. What color were the walls? I don't remember. I do know, and this is very strange. At least I think it's strange. So the walls were like all the other walls in the house, right? When they were put up, they were plastered with a cement mixture mixed with hair, and there was newspaper over top of it, and or maybe the newspaper was under. I remember there was newspaper involved, so I remember having to tear all that stuff down, and the walls and the ceilings were all made exactly the same way. We talked about the slat board that it's all made out of, and it doesn't look dissimilar from this here. It's just that the spaces between the boards are closer together, and it's only like a quarter of an inch to a half inch between boards. And so then the mixture of whatever plaster gets smeared across that, and it holds to the wall that way when it hardens. And so when I was a kid, or young teenager, they started remodeling the house, and so we actually tore the plaster off the walls. The problem is like I've said before, we didn't move very fast on remodeling jobs, and so the walls actually, for the longest time, were just bare wood, no insulation, just bare wood, and we had plastic, builder's plastic, stapled over the bare wood, and then quilts hung over the walls. It's so bizarre. But that was my room that I shared with my brother, and the walls were just plastic with quilts hung over them to try and keep it warm because there was one register in this room. It almost never worked right. It was so cold in this bedroom that you could see your breath. When I was a kid. When I was older, then of course we remodeled everything and it all got fixed. But well, sorta. We'll get into that. Well, actually, we kind of talked about it. My father did not put in a lot of insulation when he redid rooms. I, on the other hand, put insulation in every outside wall in the rooms that I did. And so a lot of the rooms, even though they had new drywall and stuff on them, were still really cold because there's no insulation. And so when we got to the point where we were remodeling, or we actually got to the point where we were putting walls back up instead of just being basically bare studs, then I helped do this room because this was my room. Well, I shared this with my brother, like I said, and so it's actually got a strange design that I didn't get to finish because I don't have enough supplies here. But there's like a window right here, and so then you got this window, but then the actual ceiling then goes back into the slope like this room has, and so it's actually sloped. But right here, there's no slope, and so I always wonder why they didn't just take most of that out. And oh no, I see what I was doing. And so then you got this, like this, here, and then on this side, it actually went the other way. Well, I guess that makes sense. It would go the other way, wouldn't it? And then there's the doorway in here for the other room here. What is this? 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. All right, we're good. And then this is all straight here. I'm gonna have to do this though. And so once again, it's a question of just why. 2, 3, 4. Why they didn't cut it out. Because if it can be straight over top of the door, then why can't it just be straight across the rest of the room? Is my question. But it wasn't. And then over here was actually a step up to the next room, because for some reason this whole side of the house was one step up on the second floor from the rest of it, which is bizarre. But that's because the house was built in pieces. And yeah, so this was my bedroom as a teenager. And then it was my brother's bedroom, because when I graduated from high school, then I moved into the next room here, which we'll talk about in a later time. And you know, there was a time in here when I was in high school Where was my brother? He must have been downstairs in one of the other rooms, because this was my bedroom here, and this was our weight room at one point. I don't think our... No, I think our beds were in here when we had the weight equipment in here. And then when this became my bedroom back here, then this became my brother's bedroom. And and then when he moved out, he didn't take a lot of his stuff, and so this kind of became the storage room at that point. And we just stored a bunch of stuff in here. A couple of couches even sat in here. It was so crammed full of stuff. So crammed full of stuff at one point. Threw all that away, almost all of it. What really happened was he moved out, he left his stuff, and my parents didn't want to throw it away in case he wanted it back. And the problem is he really never came to take it back. And so there's just all this stuff just in the way. I think that... I can't remember. Was this door directly... I think the door was over one, actually. Like there. And then after we cleaned out all his stuff, because, well, I think I mentioned that my sister moved back into the house after, or when she got married. She moved back in, and then she got married. And so then this room over here became her and her husband's room. And this room here still had all that stuff for my brother and other stuff that got stored in here. And so, because I knew that they were going to want to watch television and stuff with me, I didn't want them always coming into my bedroom, and that's where my computer and stuff was, and so they were going to set their computers up near mine and you know, connect to the internet and stuff, and you know, I didn't want them always in my room. And so we cleaned all this out, and this became the upstairs living room. And so they had their chairs were on this side, and my chair was on this side of the door. And then we had big TV here, and then I had a smaller TV that I used as my computer monitor. We had like the refrigerator was here, and I think there was another TV here, so that they could play console games and stuff on their side of the room. And then my sister had a... Get out of here. Pet rabbit, and so his cage was in this room. Yeah. It seems so much larger in this build because of all the extra space we had to do because of the double walls and stuff, but it was a tiny room. It was like 8 by 10. Yeah, maybe it was a little bigger than that, but it was the same size as the living room. Everything in here is so much bigger than it actually was. And like I said, the actual living room probably cut off about here. And so it was more like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. See, that's only 7. I'd say 8 by 10 was well, no, because they were bigger than this room, and this room was like 8 by 13 or something. I remember measuring. But yeah. I still can't believe how many years I spent in this room with quilts hung on the walls as the insulation. Oh, it was so cold, so cold. I'd sleep under 2 or 3 quilts and a blanket and a sheet. I remember, yeah, I must have been 12 or 13 in there because it was the first time I read It by Stephen King, and I remember wrapping a blanket around my head and I had a system where I basically made a monk's robe out of a quilt, and I love to read, and so I'd spend all afternoon on a Saturday in bed reading, and so when it's cold like that, um, you've got to try and keep warm, and so I would I would go ahead and um, I would just wrap it around so that I could just poke my fingers out. Like I like to lay down when I read, and I shift sides, and so I'd have like a little opening where my fingers on one hand could come out to to turn the pages, and the other hand would be wrapped up completely in the blanket, and so the it would be holding the book, and then the other hand would would flip the pages when it came time to flip pages. It was pretty funny, pretty funny. Um, and then we went and uh, we went ahead and what am I trying to do here? Oh yeah, get this piece of wool off the ground here. And so then when we finally did do the remodeling, we didn't get any insulation put in, which meant the room still stayed pretty cold, but it wasn't as bad as it was when there was no uh, when there was no walls. Uh, I think we might have put in some insulation in the one wall. I know for a fact we didn't. We didn't put any in parts of it because the way the wall is you've got the flat part of the wall, and then you've got the angle on the wall, and the angle on the wall I know we didn't open up and put insulation in. I would have eventually if we'd have stayed there longer. I had actually started the process of getting these rooms ready to remodel, and I had already, you know what, this is probably should be cyan here. I had already gone ahead and cut some holes in the walls, well, down here, basically, and had run new wiring up specifically for this room, and there had been new wiring for the next room. Not new wiring, but it would have connected to the basement panels with new wire running up through the wall of the house. And then uh, this room was remodeled. I didn't help with this room back here. Well, I helped with part of it, I guess, but this room was remodeled, and I don't think it got insulated either. The rooms got pretty cold in the wintertime. I remember here sitting, in my chair, and so in the wintertime, I would keep a blanket in the chair, and I would wrap up in the blanket, and I kept a hoodie jacket. Not really a hoodie per se, but it was like a hoodie with a flannel shirt attached to it. I don't know what you call those things. I just called it a jacket. And so I would keep that hanging on a hook on the back of the door. And so when I would come in to sit down and stay in my chair for an afternoon or something, I would put on the jacket and wrap my legs up in the blanket. But yeah. Mostly I think it's because we weren't very well off. And so, not that we are now, but, so we had to do things in little fits and spurts as we got money, extra money to do stuff. But, yeah, I know that I had plans to remodel both of these. I cut holes, like I said, in the corners of this room. And so everything was was just loose when we moved out, and I don't think I had holes cut in this room, but I know that I had some of the woodwork off the wall tore off. And, you know, this actually probably needs another set of wood running down the side here. All of this here should probably be wood. Now that I think about it. On both sides. Maybe not that high. This bottom one here and each of these on the edges should probably be wood. Which I'm sure we can fix easy enough. Actually, this doesn't even need to be here, for that matter. Oh, good. I've just trapped myself. You're going to have to let me out. Yeah, I don't know. That was just, that was the room, and it became the upstairs living room, when my sister and her husband, oh, crap, I fell right off the stairs. When my sister and her husband moved in, and, so, dark oak planks, that's exactly what I need, right? This is dark oak, yes. Okay, and then I want to go down one, so this should be purple here. And this would probably be easier if I did it from the side. So then that goes there. So that stays purple. It wasn't quite like this. It was an angle down the edges. But I can't really do angles very easily. I need some more dark wood too. And I know that, well, yeah, yeah, that was pretty much it, I guess. I can't think of anything else that really went on in this room that I had a story for. I remember the rabbit used to chew up all the wires. He loved to destroy headphones. And I don't remember what the rabbit's name was. I think we just called him Bunny. Bunny. After after Nightmare Before Christmas. Bunny. Love that movie. And so yeah, if you had your headset and you let the cord dangle near the floor, he would bite it. He didn't really bite anything else cord-wise, but headsets were pretty much fair game in his mind, and so he would just be running along and he would bite them. He was not a very nice bunny. My sister always wanted a rabbit, and she knew some people who had rabbits, and she wanted this particular kind of rabbit. And so one day we had some extra time in town. We were waiting on something, and so I said, hey, let's just run over to the pet store and look around, because she kept talking about getting a new pet. And so we went to look to see what they had at the local pet store, and they had the kind of rabbit she wanted, and they were really cheap. They were just little tiny bunnies. And so she couldn't decide if she was going to get one. I'm like, well, you always wanted one. You might as well just grab them while they're cheap, because they're normally fairly expensive. And, you know, why pay for them when they're expensive if you can get them on the cheap? I mean, like, it was like $12 for a bunny instead of the $75 that they apparently normally ran. So, you know, local person rabbit had bunnies, and they're just trying to get rid of the bunnies. So, seemed like an opportune time to me if you're going to do it. And so she couldn't decide which one she wanted. And so the lady at the pet store, and the lady at the pet store, she's showing her all the different rabbits. And so so there's 3 cages with these rabbit babies in them. And two of the cages they were all asleep when we were there. And so two of the cages had these little piles of bunnies, like 4 or 5 bunnies in a cage. They're all piled on top of each other. And then in the third cage was a single bunny all by itself. And so she felt sorry for the bunny that was all by himself, and so that's the one she picked. He was so mean. He would not let you pet him. Not really. And he would, if you let him out of his cage, he would stomp his foot at you, which is bunny symbol of anger. And then he would come out on his own terms. You couldn't get him out of the cage. He would just sit there and stomp every time you got near the open door. And so then once if you left the cage, you just opened the door and walked away, he would poke his head out and look around and go back in, and poke his head out and look around and go back in. And eventually he might come out, and then he'd wander around the room. And if you had a headset that was low to the ground, then he would go right up to it and bite the cord every time. And I'll bet he destroyed 15 pairs of headsets. So he wasn't the nicest bunny. But he would come over and he would claw on your leg while you're sitting in the chair, and then rub his head on your hand because he wanted you to scratch his head. And then you'd scratch a little bit, and then he might let you pet his head. And then once he was done, that was it. He would run off like you had just tried to shoot him or something, and he wouldn't come back. And he never would go back in the cage. It was so difficult to get him to go back in the cage, so we didn't really let him out that much because he wasn't particularly easy to care for. No, bunnies are easy to care for. Feed him and change his litter box or whatever and stuff like that. But man, he was not a nice bunny. He was not friendly. He wasn't cuddly. Nothing. And she knows these people who have rabbits, and their rabbits are all like laying around. They want you to pet them, kind of things like that. That's what she wanted in a rabbit, and that's not what she got. He was not friendly. All right, well, I think I'm gonna call it here, and probably gonna go do some lawn mowing. And I know we're getting to winter time here, but I gotta get that last mow in, I think, before winter sets in. So, all right, click like if you like, subscribe, be sure and catch the next one. I'll talk to you later. Thank you.